Aha, okay. It's 2 p.m. It is time. So, right. Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? So, pretty much on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a chat, right? And that's basically how, like, you guys can talk to me and the other people watching, right? So if you have any questions or anything, just stick it in the chat, right? So to test this, could you... Oh, excellent, you can hear me. Okay, so could as many of you as possible stick hi in the chat just to, like, say that everything's working. And that I'm not just, like, speaking to a void, you know. And... Awesome, awesome, okay. Oh, hi guys. Right. So, this should now be sharing my screen, which is OBS. Oh, hello. Lots of familiar names. Right. So, pretty much the idea of this is that I figured, you know, like, coding is kind of, like, it's traditionally a very solitary thing. Like, you know, you just have, like, people sitting in their bedroom coding. And I was like, you know, it would be good to kind of show people a bit, like, what happens behind the scenes, right? Because I'm presuming quite a lot of people use Wheatley now that it's in Ringing Room. And it's kind of invisible how much work gets put into it, like, from people like Matt and I, and Bryn and Leyland, as well, into Ringing Room. So I thought, you know, let's just show a bit of that. So I was going to start this off with a quick Q&A. And I haven't got that many questions as well, so I'll probably move on to the, just like the live coding sooner. It will be fairly technical. Like, I can't avoid it being a fairly technical because, you know, it is live coding, that's going to happen. But I'm going to talk through it as much as I can. You don't need to know how any of the internals of Wheatley work. You don't need to know Python. It should all be, like, I'll try to explain it. If I don't, then say in chat and, like, yeah, we can figure it out. Also, there's quite a significant delay between me streaming and you seeing the stream, right? So when you put something in chat, there'll be a quite significant delay between you typing it and me seeing it. Right, so don't be worried that you're typing stuff into chat and I'm not seeing it. Right, I'm usually pretty good. I have my phone next to me with the YouTube video up, so I can see chat. So yeah, let's get down to it. Oh, also, I haven't prepared any of this beforehand, so this will literally just be the bug I'm trying to fix. This will be the first time I'm trying to fix it, right? I haven't prepared anything beforehand. So we could just finish the stream and nothing's fixed, but, you know, that happens. I've been trying to make it as genuine as possible to, like, what coding is like, and sometimes things just don't work out. That's how it works. But fingers crossed that doesn't happen. I'll do my best to fix it. So I think with that, we should start and get into the Q&A. If anyone has any more questions, like, stick them in chat at any point and I'll see it maybe 10 or 20 seconds after. Oh, hey, more people have turned up. Right, so, can everyone see this? I'll just, like, wait for a bit for my screen to come through. Okay, so I'll answer the questions in chat first. So pictures in pictures is because this is OBS. This is the streaming software. And it's displaying a picture of my screen. It's doing a screen recording and displaying it in here. And then it's screen recording its own screen recording and so on. That will disappear if I go to a different, like, show different windows. Right, so question, why is the bot called Wheatley? Where does the name come from? So the name Wheatley comes from a robot in a video game called Portal 2. Let me just summon Firefox Portal. Wheatley Portal, here we go. So this is Wheatley as in where Wheatley comes from. and he's like amazingly voiced by Stephen Merchant, the comedian, with a fantastic Bristolian accent. It's great. And it's basically just like put in the game for kind of comic relief, because the other character's very like slow. The only other robot character is very slow and composed. The other character's called GLaDOS. And Wheatley is just like completely chaotic all over the place, just like having loads of crazy ideas. And I thought it was very fitting. And that's why the thing at the start of stream, if I go back to this, this has the same logo with the blue eye as well. But yeah, let's get back to the screencast. So yeah, the other two questions, is there two? No, that's the three. So these are from Facebook. I'm sorry if I didn't pick up all of the messages. I tried to get them all. Anything within the last 2 hours I probably won't have got. But the first question is, Wheatley gradually gets slower. Can this be fixed? The answer is ish, right? So the real problem with this is that Wheatley tries to detect speed according to when other people ring. And the thing is that Wheatley can't take network delay into account because it's very difficult to figure that out. And it's very changeable, right? Oh, yeah, that's okay. I mean, hopefully it's an enjoyable thing. Binary Steve, I'm not sure what the real name is, but Binary Steve says thanks for running this session. So, yeah. So yeah, pretty much the reason why Wheatley gets slower is that Wheatley tries to figure out what the ringing speed is from the ringers, and everyone has a tendency to ring slightly later than they intend to, just because there's network delay, right? It will be really tiny, like a couple of thousandths of a second, usually, or maybe like a couple of hundredths of a second, right? But every time a bell rings, Wheatley sees them ringing slightly slower than they were expected to. And so Wheatley adjusts to that and assumes that the peel speed is always supposed to be slightly slower. Which PL? What? What's PL in this case? I'll read that later. So anyway, back to the question. So pretty much the reason why it is because Wheatley tries to adjust to peel speed, but doesn't yet take network delay into account. And also there's a factor in in how the rhythm detection works, where Wheatley doesn't want to change speed very quickly. And this is so that if the ringing suddenly slows down, right, and just for one blow, like someone's ridiculously late, you don't want Wheatley to suddenly snap to a slower speed, right? That would be super annoying. But there's no factor in there to be like, oh, I've slowed down for people making mistakes, I now need to speed up. Right, like that factor is missing. Oh, which programming language? Wheatley's written in Python, which is probably the thing I wish I'd done differently, because Python doesn't scale very well. It's all very well doing a small project in Python, but it becomes more and more effort the bigger the project gets. But yeah, and so the second one. Roger Lawson, can Wheatley accept comp-lib compositions? Yep. Yes. As of the latest release, Wheatley can. Ringing Room Wheatley. Ringing Room Wheatley can't. So yeah, there are two parts of this question, and it's about Ringing Room Wheatley and comp-lib compositions. So yeah, to add the inertia setting to ringing integrated version. So I'm very cautious about adding settings to the Ringing Room version, because the whole point of Ringing Room as a platform is that it's as simple as possible, right? Like, it's kind of no bells and whistles, but it does exactly what 90% of the users want. I think is a fair summary of Ringing Room, and it does it nicely. And when I'm adding things to Wheatley in Ringing Room, I feel obliged to kind of follow that design principle, right? And to make sure that I'm not adding a crazy number of features. So I'm probably not going to add the inertia setting per se, but like what I might do instead is add a kind of switch that's like let Wheatley detect your speed, right? Once that's more stable and doesn't slow down all the time, I'll add a switch to say, oh yeah, just detect the peel speed. Or maybe like a slider for how much Wheatley detects the peel speed. And then internally, there'll be some algorithm for figuring out, oh, what settings does that actually correspond to, right? Because I don't really want to expose all of the tiny tweak knobs that Wheatley has. The whole point of having two versions really is that the ringing room version is like the 80% 20% trade-off, right? Like we have maybe 20% of the features that work for 80% of the use cases, right? And for maybe 90% of people, that's all they want to do. And there's no point giving those 90% of people loads and loads of features they don't need, right? It's just cluttering up the display. Back to this question. Will ringing room Wheatley be able to call complex compositions? The answer is yes, it already can, except that you can't input a composition, right? So if you could somehow break the system and input a composition, Wheatley would call it already. Because the ringing room version's been on the version I released yesterday, that we released, Matt and I decided to release it. So Wheatley, the ringing room version's been on 0.6.0 for as long as it's been available, which is kind of one of the reasons why I was okay with just releasing it, because it's clearly been stable. It's been running on ringing room without major issues for a while. I know there are some small issues like the ringing room, the ringing is sometimes very lumpy. And unfortunately, I have no idea why that's happening. And until I have some idea why that's happening, I just won't be able to fix it. But maybe someone else does know. I don't know. So yes, it's fairly close, is the answer to this question. It was implemented right up until release. And it was just like, there were a few ifs about like, it was not super intuitive how it worked. And I just need to implement that. Like, maybe I could do that if the bug that we were trying to fix falls through. So I think that's the end of the questions from Facebook. Unless there are some I missed. If so, I'm sorry about that. Like, I tried to get as many as I could. But if you want to keep bashing stuff into the chat, then you're very welcome to. So yeah, I can get rid of Q&A. Oh, it's not doing any harm, is it? So basically, what I was thinking is that I would, at this point, right, this is basically Q&A over, I think. So anyone who's here for the Q&A, you're welcome to leave, but, you know, you might find the rest interesting, so I don't know, it's up to you. So pretty much, from now on, it will be... Oh, so, question, I'm not a Python programmer, but I looked at some of the code, but can't figure out how you read from the complib site. Can you explain briefly or point me in the right direction? Right, so reading from complib is done... Generally speaking, if you want to find something in the code, I would say the best thing to do is to download it and then do a search of the code, right? Because if we... the code is quite big. Let's just get rid of get ignored files. So the code is quite big, right? There are lots of Python files. And first of all, only the Wheatley directory is the bit. So only this section is the bit that's actually the code that runs on Wheatley. The rest is like testing and making sure that stuff works. And the bit that complib interacts with complib is here. It's in the row generation. Actually, it's probably easier just to show how this works. So basically, complib, Graham John, when he was working on Handbell Stadium, added a way of allowing computer ringers to look more deeply into complex compositions. Because I think is there 13 original minor? That's like the shortest composition I could find. So pretty much, like, you've always been able to do some of it, right? So here's a composition, right? Like, it's a pretty short composition of original. And for any composition, you can go up here and there's an export rows option, right? And this just literally prints out the rows of the composition. And this is what Wheatley used to use. It would figure out the number and then decide what this URL was going to be. And then from that, figure out what the touch was going to be. And then it would know which rows to ring. But the issue with this is that you can't figure out, like, Wheatley doesn't know where the calls are going to be. So if Wheatley needs to call a composition, which that's such a popular feature that I decided that we should do that, then you need to know that, like, for example, the change here, there's a single here, and there's a single somewhere else. It's at the end, right? So Graham John added that. If you go to api.complib, basically API is application program interface, I think. But anyway, it's basically like stuff that's designed for computer consumption rather than human consumption. So if I load it, we can see that it just spits out this, right? Which is JSON, JavaScript object notation is like the name of the file format. And it basically describes everything that you'd need to know in order to ring the composition, right? So it gives you the ID, what it's called, what stage it is, whatever. And then down here we've got all of the rows of the composition. And this includes the rows of rounds at the start, which Wheatley ignores. And so pretty much Wheatley just reads this raw data here and then pulls out the rows out of the composition and figures out what the calls are going to be from this and stores them all. And that's how Wheatley rings complex compositions. And in theory, like, anyone could do this. JSON is a very easy language to parse, and nearly all languages will have a way of reading JSON. Python definitely does. It's in the standard library. It doesn't require any installation. And so I can show you how I can show you where in the code it actually works. But the thing I would say is to do some kind of symbol search. I'm not sure how this would work on Windows. No. So another question is it possible to have a local complib file? The answer is no. And this is pretty much why... okay, so I have a thing about letting people input compositions into Wheatley, right? And the thing is, this is a very well-requested feature. For doing stuff like practice night touches, you want a short touch of spliced or whatever. And the thing is, I don't really want to do it. It's not that I don't want the feature, it's that there isn't really a good way of doing it. There isn't a standard way of inputting compositions, and so far pretty much every program has chosen their own way of doing it, right? Like Able has a way of inputting compositions. There's Cyril as well, which doesn't even work for Wheatley's purposes because you can't annotate, you don't know where the calls are going to be in micro-Cyril. Or any kind of Cyril. And then you've got complib, which has its own composition inputting system. I'm not even sure how complib compositions are saved on the server. And so, like, already you've got 3 competing formats. And none of them really work for everything, right? None of them are particularly standard. And all of them are a bit janky in some way. So basically what I don't want to avoid is adding some way of doing it to Wheatley. And the thing is, composition specification formats are, like, designing one of these things is really hard because ringing is complicated and there are loads and loads of weird edge cases, right? Like Stedman, for example, is the classic. Yes, yeah, Graham John's right. It would be a very complicated feature. And the thing is, I have a blog post, in fact, or like a sort of half-finished blog post on my website, which is just like my musings over what a format would look like. Because the thing is, I'm not willing to create a new format for Wheatley unless it's going to be standardized, right? In which case, like, every program should be able to write to it, right? So like a complib, you could be able to save a complib composition as the standard format, and then you could load it into Wheatley and ring it, or you could load it into Abel and ring it, or you could have like converters from microciril and back, whatever. And that's like what I want out of a format. And you're welcome to read this. And basically I'm saying that the whole point of it is like laying down what we would need out of a format. I don't have any ideas for that, right? But yeah, I have some ideas for how it might work, but I don't think, I don't have the time to figure out an exact version. This was just me throwing stuff out there to see if anyone has any ideas. And I'd definitely be open to suggestions and chats about this. It seems very interesting. Basically, the upshot is that it would be nightmarishly complicated to implement in such a way that it would support everything that people want to do. Because you could imagine, like, I don't know, how would you get stuff round? Like, imagine ringing half a course of Bristol, right, by going to plain hunt at the half lead. Like, how would you describe that in some kind of format that would store the calls as well, right? Like, that's pretty difficult. But the thing is, Complib's already done it, and Complib already has tens of thousands of compositions on it. So I don't really see the value in, like, practically doubling the complexity. Is there a description of JSON format? Not really. Oh god, this is huge. And I suspect that's because the format was never intended to be used outside outside Complib and maybe Wheatley. Sorry, outside Handball Stadium. Yeah, it's not. It's a relatively simple thing. If you really want to know where in the code it is, it's if you do a search for Complib in here, and then ignore cases -i, I think. Oh crikey, this is a lot of stuff. Okay, maybe searching for that isn't such a good idea. But anyway, it's in Wheatley row generation complib composition generator. And then somewhere near the bottom of this, parse arg, I think it's this. Oh no, this turns, yeah, this is just to handle the case that people might want to put composition IDs or URLs in, and Wheatley needs to handle all of them gracefully. But somewhere down here, yeah, this is the code. Pretty much this section of code is the bit that handles complib compositions and reads them. So yeah, if you're interested, that's here. Right, oh, classic bugging out the window manager. In fact, I'll zoom in on this terminal as well. I think I'm going to put most of the code here. So what I was going to attempt, basically, oh good, you're welcome. So pretty much the bug that I wanted to fix today was that Wheatley, as someone put it, seems very keen on playing Bob Major. And somehow Wheatley is randomly switching back to playing Bob Major, regardless of the stage that you're ringing, and like regardless of what you told Wheatley to ring. And also, oh, excellent. Yeah, I mean, the complib API is amazingly useful. I could do with implementing the method API for Wheatley, actually, but, you know, I haven't got around to that yet. I mean, yeah, so I think Graham John is the person to talk to. There's some documentation. Oh, wait, no, the GitHub repository is not public, so, okay. But yeah, so back to the back to the topic of the bug that I'm trying to fix, or we're trying to fix, even. So, yeah, pretty much, I have no idea why this is happening. And the real issue with that is that the reason why I have no idea, really, is that this never happened on the dev server or on my local copy when I'm running running Ringing Room and Wheatley together on my PC down under my desk, like, in order to test it. So I really don't have much idea. But the thing is, I know a fair amount about how the code works, and therefore I also have a decent idea about what has to happen in order to make the bug happen. And also, I have someone has been good enough to provide me with a list of times where the bugs have happened, and I've got server logs for those times. I think times. So pretty much Thursday the 18th. So 10 days ago in this tower, and these times are when the bug has happened. So pretty much my action plan, like whenever I find a bug that I know nothing about, is to try and just gain more information, right? Because I don't know what information will be required, so at this point, any information is valuable. And I have the log file somewhere. They'll be in, they'll be in downloads somewhere. Ringing Room 0, Ringing Room 1. What was the tower number? Okay, so fun fact about Ringing Room. There are actually 2 different servers, right? Because Ringing Room got popular enough that the one server that was running couldn't handle all of the requests that it was getting. So the way Ringing Room handles this is that it splits half of the towers off onto a different server. And it does this seamlessly in the background, so no one would notice. But the way they do it is that they use the last digit of the tower ID and take the number of servers and look at the remainder. Yes, so Plain Bob 8 is the default method as far as Wheatley is concerned. Or rather, Plain Bob Major is almost the default method. What should happen is that whenever you change the stage of a tower, I think I can demonstrate this. In fact, I don't think I've even used the Ringing Room version of Wheatley since its release. I probably should have done that. Hold on, I need to enter my crazily long master password. Oh no, invalid master password. Oh, drat. Aha, excellent, right. Login, cool. So what should happen, do I have a tower? I should have aperture signs, here we go. Does this have Wheatley? Okay, right, so the method's Plain Bob Major, and what should happen is whenever you change the stage, Wheatley should reset to Plain Bob on that stage, right? So you can see it changes to the stage. And this is so that you can't end up in a situation where Wheatley's trying to ring on more bells than you have, right? Because it would be really weird if I set something like Cambridge Surprise Major and moved to 6 bells and it still wanted to ring Cambridge Major. And it used to use Bob Wallace's Blue Line website to look up if there was an extension or contraction of the same method name. Right, so it used to say, like, if I wanted to ring Cambridge Surprise Minor and switch to Major, it would stay on Cambridge. But the thing is, that was causing issues because sometimes that involves like another URL, like another request to Bob Wallace's server for, oh, does this method exist? And sometimes that was taking a very long time. So you would change the stage and then there would be like a solid 10 seconds before Wheatley would update, or even longer, right? It would sometimes hang for basically forever. And that was just a nightmare because you could change the stage down and then you could start ringing immediately and Wheatley would ring on the wrong stage. So basically, I just left it that Wheatley defaults to Plain Bob on whatever stage it is. And that way, like, you can still set the method name and it will filter by stage. And this way, Wheatley will hopefully never get it's knickers in a twist, was the plan anyway. But the thing is, like, also when the random resets are happening, this gives us a lot of information about it, right? Because this can only be this state that, like, these controls can only be set from a certain set of positions in the code. So if I were to, is there an online whiteboard? I used one for stream last night, just so I can scribble stuff. Concept board. I don't click on ads because explain everything. Here we go. Try it now. Yeah, look, why would this website need my... Why would it need my microphone? I don't understand. Anyway, so pretty much we have... we don't know anything, right? So we're going to start with some kind of blank slate. We don't know anything, except we know that somehow there's a bug, right? Apologies for my awful handwriting, but using a mouse is terrible. So, yeah, we don't know anything about the bug, but if we can, like, something has to happen before the bug exists. Oh, that's really thin. That will look terrible on mobile. That's better. Yeah, there we go. So pretty much we have something, and something turns into the bug. And we need to know, like, because we don't know anything about the bug, we need to know, except we know what happens for the bug, right? Because the bug is that all of these checkboxes get reset to nothing. And this method gets reset to plain Bob Major. And the plain Bob Major resetting is, I think, the key to the bug. I'm, like, I don't know anything, right? But I think this is as good a starting point as any. Because in the code for Ringing Room, if I jump over to that server, what changes have happened? Oh, just some reformatting. Okay, I can reset hard head. Okay, now let's check out master. So we're on. Oh, trunk is. Ah, there we go. Right, now we're on the right code. So I think in the README for Ringing Room, there's a list of what the socket connections are. Right, so pretty much the way Ringing Room works is that the server sits and listens to requests from all of the clients, right? And well, it's not requests, sorry, signals. So there's basically a two-way connection between the server and every person's browser who's ringing. And whenever they ring a bell or anything, that sends a signal to the server to say, like, hey, this bell has been rung. And then the server broadcasts that out to all of the clients, and then they make the bells ring, right? So that's basically how the whole website runs. And the Wheatley controls are no different. If I just make this bigger, Wheatley has its own set of signals that make sure that the box on Ringing Room can update in real time. So if I were to open a new browser window and go to Ringing Room and go to the same tower, what is it? Ringing Room 5, 4. Does this work? Okay, right, so if I change a setting over here, then it will update on both, right? And this is because it's using the same broadcast system as Ringing Room, as the bells would, right? To make sure that if I ring a bell here, it rings on both. And the thing is that Wheatley, the version of Wheatley that's running on Ringing Room is almost exactly the same as the command line version, right? It doesn't do anything fancy. It just listens to the socket.io signals for these changes, right? So if I were to tick this box, then we have the same information flow, right? The box gets ticked. This Ringing Room website asks the server to say, hey, set ring up down in to true. And then the Ringing Room server broadcasts to all of the clients, oh, ring up down in is set to true. And Wheatley, like if Wheatley is running on the server, Wheatley is just pretending to be another client, right? So Wheatley receives the same signal to say up down in is set to true, and then internally inside Wheatley sets the flag that's like, oh, the user wants me to ring up down in. And this way you can change these settings and the method whilst Wheatley is ringing, which is like super convenient. Oh, sorry, whilst Wheatley is running. You can't do it, you can't change the method whilst Wheatley is ringing, which is one of the saving graces of this bug, because if Wheatley just suddenly took up plain Bob Major halfway through a touch of minor, then that would be like, that would be bizarre. And so, yeah, pretty much the issue has to be somewhere that the server is sending out some kind of rogue method change request, right? And I don't know how that's happening, but I do know what socket signal has to be emitted in order for this to happen, right? Is this making sense? I think it probably is, because people are hanging around, but if for some reason I'm going too fast or it doesn't make sense, just stick a message in chat, or if you have any questions, stick them in chat. I'll read them as I'm going along. Uh-oh. Ooh. My internet's buffering on my phone. Hopefully this is just an issue with my phone's Wi-Fi. Come on, phone. Go back to this. Okay. Is that true? Is it true that it Wheatley resets the method when the touch finishes? I think it's not. I think apparently it happens whenever. But we can use this to narrow down what's going to happen, because it's this it's this signal here, the S for server Wheatley row generation. And it spits out a row gen type, which is like unimportant for the sake of this. And then the description here is from the server tells Wheatley that to use a different row generator. Hey, hello. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Right, so basically, so we know more about the bug now, right? Because what's Wheatley? Wheatley is a robot ringer for ringing room. So wait, hold on. You're coming from the sapling streams, aren't you? Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to say anything on the other streams. Yeah, so there might be a few confused people turning up to this stream because I was live streaming another project yesterday. So yeah, this is a different project of mine. I mean, you're welcome to hang around, but it might be a bit weird without any kind of context. Yeah, anyway, so we now from our whiteboard, right, example, we know more, right, because we know that in order to have this bug happen, we have to have what is this, S Wheatley row gen. So we now know more information about the bug, right, because we've got this kind of flow graph that there's some rogue, oh, okay, yeah, so you're a sapling person. So Wheatley row gen, somehow this rogue thing causes the bug, right? And this is all we know so far, really. But we know more about this because we can search, do a symbol search for that thing. You can search for S Wheatley row gen and see all of the locations that this gets emitted. So we have S Wheatley row gen here. Okay, so this is in README. That's just the description. That's okay. And so this is just socket.io. In fact, we can filter this star.py. So to only look for Python files. So it looks like row gen is emitted a lot. So there are 4 cases where this could happen. So we've now got 4 different cases, and any of these could be causing the bug. So pretty much now it's a case of, on our diagram, we've basically got 4 more ways into this point. And so I know I have server logs for this, but I'm just trying to do as much as I can without them, because searching through server logs is a little bit tedious. There's a lot of stuff happens, and Wheatley is very very chatty, shall we say, about filling the server logs with random guff about what's happening. So where are all of these things? I don't have it in this terminal. Let's split screen. Split screen, so, hold on, what? Oh, I'm in Wheatley. Let's cd ringing room. And then do the same search. So this will give us the file locations where we need to search. So list, let's have a look at these. So app roots.py is the first one, and line 247. Oh, we should probably make more space so that the lines don't wrap. Okay, so what's this happening? Aha, okay, so I know what this is going on. So basically this is, this section of code is run from the tower settings page, right? So if I leave tower settings, that code is run, the code that we can see here, this tower settings thing, is run whenever anyone changes settings in here. And specifically, it's the enable Wheatley switch. Actually, I think this potentially might be the issue. Because does this even check? No. Yes, I think I found it. Right, so basically, I think I know what's happening. So, this is called whenever anyone switches Wheatley on in the tower settings. Okay? And pretty much we have like this whole function here is called whenever anyone changes any setting in the tower settings, right? Like that's host mode, Wheatley, the additional sizes, anything. And then there's a check that's like, is this a validation or are we requesting the HTML, right? So we can kind of ignore this branch. And then these are all of the settings, right? So the tower host mode enable is set from the form, additional sizes, blah, blah, half muffled. And then this whole section here is dealing with Wheatley. And so we store Wheatley enabled and then check that the tower that we were looking at actually has a different enabledness, right? So this is basically checking that the switch actually changed something. Because this code gets run regardless of which switch was flipped. And so we need to check, just so that we don't like overload the server, just check that for sanity's sake, Wheatley like actually wasn't enabled. And then what we do is that we have to update everyone else who's looking at the tower. So let's say I split screened here just to demonstrate, right? And then oh no, I want to go to ringing room. Oh, I'm very, very hyped actually, because I think I've found what's going on. So imagine we were here, right, and then someone disables Wheatley in the switch, right? What we want to happen is that at that point, anyone who's currently looking at this tower, the Wheatley box should disappear or appear, right? And this is cool, right? Because it means that you can't have a weird situation where someone's logged in and someone isn't, right? And so what this code does is it emits a whole bunch of socket signals to the right room. Or so it sets Wheatley enabledness with some packaged information. Broadcast is true, right? So this is saying don't just send this to one person, send this to every possible client, right? And this is the important bit. Room is tower.tower ID. And this is saying, because there are multiple rooms sitting on the same server, we need to make sure that we only tell the right room to enable Wheatley. Right? And the same happens here. We emit user entered that's like, hey, Wheatley entered the tower, right? Because Wheatley is a pretend user. So if we turn Wheatley off, then we don't want a thing. Oh God, what's going on? That's another bug, actually. Wheatley is just appearing blank. But anyway, Wheatley is being added, right? Somehow this is not working properly. Oh, I think this is just because... Hold on, we can fix this bug as well, because I think this underscore doesn't need to be here. Because I think username is one word and user ID is two different ones. But here's the kicker. What's missing from these two settings? Like, well, what do these function calls have that these two don't? Just to kind of spot the difference here. Right, so the important thing that they're missing this. So these signals are sending to just the right tower, and then these two are emitting to everyone. Right, so this is literally every other tower will receive the updates of the Wheatley tower settings and row gen. Right, and these will be correct for the tower that had the setting flipped. Okay, and so this means that literally every tower with the same like parity of last digit, right? Like if someone switches Wheatley on for a tower with an odd last digit, then every single tower which has an odd last digit will receive the Wheatley settings and the row generation, which is exactly what we're seeing, right? Because we're seeing... Yes. Well, so, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Nick, you've got it right. So every time anyone turns Wheatley on or off. So it's strictly whenever anyone turns Wheatley on, because if we're turning Wheatley off, we've got the comments here. So if Wheatley is being enabled, then update the settings in the tower until the client that Wheatley has arrived. And if... we don't. So if Wheatley is being disabled, we don't need to update the settings in the tower. We just tell the clients that Wheatley has left. Yes, yeah, the socket IO emit should be in a thing. But the thing is, this is the only time where socket signals are sent from form requests, right? Because normally you'd have all of the rest of them are in app listeners, right? Which is where this is where all of the socket IO listeners are stored, right? So when the client emits a socket signal that's like, yo, a bell's been rung, that will be here somewhere. It'll be see bell rung, and then this function will be called, and it will emit another socket connection. It will emit another socket signal in the same tower. So basically, what I think this is correct, and we can test this because we can open another room with the same last digit as this one, right? So we've got, this has 6 as its last digit, which means it will be on the ringing room 0, because the remainder after division by 2 is 0. So do I have any other towers with Wheatley enabled that have an even last digit? Yeah, I do mean even. Pythagoras boys. Okay. Well, we could have this one. So this one has the same last digit. So this one will be on the same server as that. And we need to enable Wheatley on this. And then go to tower. Okay, so now we've got plain Bob major, and let's change to plain Bob minor. And even better, we can change this to Cambridge minor, right? And now, if our hypothesis is correct, and we turn this off, nothing will happen. But when we turn it on, this will change, even though it's the wrong tower. Yes! Oh, yes, and that it switches to minor because this tower had 6 bells, right? So if we changed this to royal, and then went back to the tower settings and turned Wheatley off and back on again, then this random tower. Oh, yes! Dude, like, this is, like, what was the luck that we had 4 different things that we could have checked, and it just so happened that the first one was the one that was right. Like, that is incredible luck. So pretty much my hypothesis is that literally we just need to put this in here. Join. Yeah, definitely. We should probably check the other things. Also, we should check that this underscore thing is causing the invisible user. So I think in README... Oh, thanks. Well, I mean, it was... Yeah, I honestly didn't think that we would notice it that quickly. But I think in here, suser entered. What is it? Yes, here we go. So it's username without an underscore, and this is why Wheatley's appearing as a blank user, because before we had user underscore name, which is not defined, and the clients are looking for username all one word. So there's this bug as well. Right, let's see. Okay, so I think right, so we got the bug to happen as well, right, which is great. And this is on the production server. So actually we've answered the question, right, which is that it was a rogue broadcast, right? So I think this whiteboard is kind of done. But what I think we should do now is we should whack up a local copy of Ringing Room. Yes, I would much rather, like, this would be much, like, I don't know, I'm not so much of a fan of Python as I used to be. Like, it sounds terrible of me, and I don't want to, like, hate on languages. But the thing is, Python has its uses, right? Like, I still really like it as a language. I really like it as, like, as a way of, like, you know, gluing other people's other code together, right? If you want to whack up something really quickly, Python's your boy, right? Like, just use Python. But I would not, like, want to maintain anything bigger than about 1,000 lines in Python. And, like, just the lack of type checking gets unwieldy. But yeah, so in the else, what was the thing about? Million to 1 chances crop up 9 out of 10. What would I use instead? I don't know. I mean, it's not, at this point, it's not worth rewriting Ringing Room, right? For Ringing Room, so my preferred language is Rust, but the thing is, it has, like, because it has one of the strictest type systems out there, and it actually has decent industry support now. But the thing is, it's just not worth rewriting Ringing Room in a different language, right? Because if you think about what it took me nearly an hour, right, to find this bug, right? And Ringing Room is basically stable, right? It's not really a problem. I don't think there's any... I don't think the benefit would outweigh the cost at this point, like, in terms of development time. I kind of wish I'd chosen a different language at the start for Wheatley, but that's also too late to change now, really. Or at least I don't have the energy to change it. And Wheatley, like, we've actually sort of circumvented the problem because there is a type checker for Python, which we're using on Wheatley's code base. But yeah, it would have been useful if this was required as a parameter. But yeah, so we found this. So let's just check that this is not working on this server. So I think if we run flask run over here, then we'll basically get a copy of Ringing Room running on my own machine, right? Is this 5,000? I think is... Ah, yeah, here we go. So, what was my email? I think it was Niesel and password. Oh, beautiful. Right, why is this? Interesting. Oh, I know why this is happening. I need to flask upgrade. DB upgrade. Yeah, I just need to update the database. Yes, yeah, we probably ought to put a helper method. The thing is, I think this we could do with, like, Ringirum could do with some refactoring, really. Because, like, you know, it was code that's written impressively quickly given the circumstances, right? But the thing is, it's kind of grown organically a bit. And then we have weird things like this emitting socket signals from a completely unrelated part of the code. And in fact, I believe this... Oh, hold on, what? How did Python know that it's coming from there? But yeah, we import socket IO directly from the listeners page, which is really strange, like, because actually... hold on, I think... oh, this is why it's not... This is why it doesn't break. Okay, so... Oh, well, yeah. Have fun. I'm glad it was enjoyable, or at least I hope it was enjoyable. I guess that's, like, beauty is in the eye of the beholder and all that. But yeah, have fun with whatever it is you're doing. So okay, right. So we should probably also import this straight from extensions, and then it will be a bit more intuitive as to what's going on. Right, where are we? Where was our thing? Oh yeah, so we want a helper method. And now if I reload this page, resend, it should be one, no. And we only have one tower, right? So, hold on, is this what it looks like with the light theme? Does it have this rogue border? Okay, right, so we want to test that this is not working. And I think, first of all, we should change this code. Like, we should undo our changes. Where is it? It's here, right? Oh, yeah. Right. And let's reload the server and refresh the page. That should work. So now, what are we on? We're on even towers again. Oh, and in fact, they're all running on one server because I'm running this off my local machine. So let's just create a tower. What should we call it? Subscribe. That's just like a meme that subscribe to Niesel. Oh, useless. We got an even number. Actually, hold on. No, that's fine. So we should be seeing the same bug here. If we leave tower, go to the tower settings, and enable Wheatley, and then go back, and go back to here. Oh wait, tower settings. Let's go back to this, and we switch the tower size to something different, right? It goes to plain Bob Minor, and let's set this to Cambridge just because. And then this is an 8-bell tower, so if we leave tower and then change the tower settings here, disable, enable, right. Okay, so it's happening again here without our code changes. And now we can test that these changes actually have some effect. So let's run the server again. Yes, we do want to resend the form. So we need to refresh the page because the server changed. We'll go back to major, but let's set this to Cambridge. So now if we turn this off and turn this back on again, nothing happens. Right. Excellent. So that bug has officially been fixed. And yeah, so that's done. Oh, that's such a relief. I was just like so at my wit's end, right? Like about how on earth that bug could have been happening, right? Because it was like this is so bizarre, and it was so random, but it would happen when everyone else is having a practice, which is logical, right? Because people will start a room and go, oh, yo, we need Wheatley. So at around 7:30 when everyone is doing practices, those are the times when people will be turning Wheatley on. And I think that even makes sense as well, right? Because if I No, let's just make a new terminal and go to Wheatley. Let's make this bigger for you guys. If I open the times that I had, this will make sense as well, because they're all, yeah, they're all just before 7:30, right? Which is when people will be going, oh, yeah, hey, there's this new thing called Wheatley. Oh, I didn't undo the username change. I should probably do that as well. This makes so much sense. Like, I'm pretty sure this is definitely the cause, right? But yeah, MBD with a Y, it is right. We should probably change that. So right, let's get rid of that. We've got the username bug as well. So if we undo this just in isolation, and test this bug, so let's reload the page here. So there's username called Wheatley. Let's go back to the tower settings for, what was this? This is subscribe to Neasel. Turn it off and turn it back on again, and we get the empty user. Right, and I think this also will happen if we try and assign bells to Wheatley. It's empty, which is right, so that's definitely consistent with the underscore, right? So if we delete the underscore at this point and rerun the server and refresh that page so that we can see what's going on, refresh this page, resend the form. Right, that does as expected. Right, and we get Wheatley back. Nice, excellent. Okay, right, I need a drink. Right, so that's definitely the cause of the bug, I think. Let's see. So, okay, now we should probably search for more of the Wheatley regen changes. Oh no, in fact, yeah, we should declare a helper function. So we should say def emit socket. Oh, was there? We should probably we should grep for that actually. What is it? User underscore name. Holy moly, there are a lot. Okay. Oh, but it's fine. Most of them are okay because most of them are strings. So we need to check for quote or thingy quote. Let's give this a bit more space. Username, either quote or this quote. Hold on, what? Ugh, what happened? Let's... Oh, here we go. Right, so it's only... Aha, interesting. Okay, so this appears more often. Probably worth checking that. Let's just make a quick thing. Emit socket name is a string, and actually I'm not going to put types in because it's too much effort. And then this is some JSON. So payload maybe, or data. And this is basically the contents of this, except that we're here. And this is name, and this is data. And now we'll make sure that this all goes through here. So we'll change this to emit socket, and then we don't need this, right? Because those arguments are added there. Set enabledness. Oh, we need more space for this. So emit include self. I don't think include self actually makes any difference, because include self is for the case where, imagine you have a whole load of users, right, and they're all talking to a server, and one of them, say, rings a bell, right? Include self is saying, oh, if someone sends me a thing and I'm broadcasting a response, do I send it back to the person who sent it to me? Because sometimes you might not want to. But in the case of ringing bells, the client doesn't know that the bell was rung by it. So there's always the network latency between, like, what happens is you ring a bell, you press a key, it doesn't ring the bell on your screen until the signal gets back, which it will be the same time. So I think this should make no difference at all. But let's just check that without it, it still works. Classic refresh a load of pages. So this should still remove the username and add the username. Okay, so that's not needed. So now we can turn this into emit socket. Here we go. Right, and the username thing is fixed. And then here, this should be emit socket as well. And again, the user left, I'm pretty sure we don't need this either. So that should have fixed all of these. Let's see, resend, refresh this page, and then disable Wheatley. Oh, the user leaves. Right, that's it. We know it works now. Okay, so that's great. We've done all of this. And I think if we just search for socketio.emit, this should be the only... Oh no, we've got more of them. And lol, guess which ones? It's the ones that were the bug in the first place. Right. Emit socket. Why is it not complaining about having too many arguments? That's really strange. Okay, so we want these. And then, yeah, okay, so socket, now we only have one occurrence of socketio.emit. So this should be much more resilient to stuff, to this bug. I mean, really, we shouldn't, like, user underscore name in the else. Actually, I think this doesn't make any difference. Oh no, I haven't changed user underscore name. We could do with doing that now. Let's just search again. We don't, this doesn't actually make any difference. Because I think when a user leaves, it doesn't actually check that the username is correct. I think we could just delete this fully. Where's readme? Oh, we're right here, as user left. Okay, so it is username. Oh, it is user underscore name, actually. So this is correct. But this is tremendously inconsistent as well. We should probably make this consistent. In fact, this is incredibly inconsistent because what? So the client sends it with an underscore, and then the reply has no underscore. Okay. Well, I think this needs to be consistent anyway. But this is not good, actually, because you could have two people with the same name, and if one of them leaves, the only thing that gets sent to the server is the user name, right? And not the user ID. So I think this needs to be user ID int username string. And in fact, we don't even need the username, right? Because it doesn't matter. Like, the username is not even unique. It's needed when someone arrives because you need to know what their name is. But I think, that we can just use the user IDs instead. All right, so now we can get rid of this. We can probably join all this together. Oops. Right. And so, yeah, when user enters, we need username with no underscore. And now, oh, this is interesting. So it's only in comments right now. Okay, so we've updated it in the documentation. That's the main thing that is easy to forget. So where is it? It's in app listeners, which is the bit where we'd expect. So where is it? C, client user left. And then we log C user left JSON. We look at the tower ID. We get the user ID. Yes, yeah, so the user ID is the only thing that's actually used. So session.get user ID. If it's anonymous, then oh yeah, we don't need to deal with this. That just rebroadcasts the user list. And now we don't need to send the username out because all we actually care about is the user ID, because the user IDs are unique to people and the user names are not, right? Because you could have two people, you could have a user called Wheatley, right? Like just an ordinary person, not the magic Wheatley user that just exists. Oh no, that's not going to work. Okay, we might as well split the line there. Right. Okay, so user ID, we fixed it here, but the code, the JavaScript running in the, like that code won't have updated. So we need to find ringyroom.js and there's S user left. Here we go. And the only thing we actually read is the user ID, so that's okay. Yes, unfortunately, Ring Room has no unit tests, which, like, there's no automatic testing of any kind, which is kind of an issue, but also, like, automating tests of web API, like, of websites is, it's really hard. Like, it's almost as hard as, like, yes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But also, like, it's a problem waiting to happen, and we can just test that it still works, which is that if we run the server, the user leaving. Yeah, I mean, this is what I like about Rust as a language, is that it's just like so much stuff is checked by the compiler, like the main kicker that's like basically the premise behind Rust is that like it's a low-level language like C or C++, right? So there's no garbage collector. You have to handle memory yourself, except that the compiler will check the memory management for you. So you don't explicitly drop memory. It's just like if you have, I don't know, you create some like list of things on the heap, right? So memory that needs to be cleared up. You create a list. And then once the list goes out of scope, so like the variable, it's a local variable to a function and you return from the function, right? You can never ever use that memory again. And so that gets deallocated. And basically then the compiler has a whole load of checks to say, oh yeah, if you return, like if you hold a pointer into that, you need to guarantee that the pointer can't outlive the memory. And so it has a load of rules about that. But basically it means that you compile your code and it guarantees a whole load of safety things. Like no data races, no memory issues, like weird memory bugs, no out of bounds accessing of arrays, no data races in concurrent code as well, and stuff like that. It's really, really cool, and it has really good control of mutability. So you can define, like you can take things by reference, but have an immutable reference, like a properly immutable reference, not just like the way Scala does immutability, which is you can't overwrite the pointer, which is like, why would anyone overwrite a pointer anyway in a language like Rust? But you have a pointer, you could pass someone that list and they would not be able to change it. How have I learnt all these languages? Oh, I just have I have a thing about learning programming languages. I just learn languages for projects that I wanted to do in them. In fact, this is a good moment to show off one of my other ringing projects that I've been doing in Rust. Except once I've checked out these bugs and make sure they don't go all weird. So basically we can check that if I leave the tower... okay, so this is not working because I'm logged in twice by the same user. So I think I need to leave tower. Yeah, so I just have a weird obsession with learning languages. Let's just make a new register here, email address, example@example.com. The email addresses are never checked. I'm going to use the same password. Oh wait, hold on, that was the already have an account. Register, email, username, Measle2, password. it's the same terrible 3-letter password. Oh, repeat password. By the way, I would like you to know that I don't use 3-letter passwords for everything. It's just, it's just like accounts on my own computer for this ringing room thing. Okay, so we need to jump into this room here. Join, so we should have Neasel 2. Holy moly, what? Why am I... Oh, what? Am I logged in the same person on both? Right, let's log out and log in as neasel@gmail.com. Log in. Right, so now I should be able to go to subscribe to Neasel and we have 2 users. So if I leave the tower, okay, everything works. Right. Cool. Hold on, what? Oh, tower settings, whoops. Yeah, okay, so the change to user IDs hasn't broken anything visible. And without automated testing, that's probably the best you can do. Where's the SC user left? Where's this emitted? Username. Oh, so it only emits username. What? User ID. User ID. Hold on, how is this even working? What? Why does this still work? When you okay, so this is weird because the app listeners S user left. Oh, I tried that before. So this receives user ID. Ah, okay, so it doesn't need to send the username. The username is never actually used because the user ID that gets emitted by the server is done by looking up in the database what the user ID of the current user attached to their socket connection is. So that's why it worked when we were sending usernames one side. So I think we should just not send that, full stop. And this should hopefully still work, fingers crossed. Actually, this might be a pain to reload. Does this keep me logged in? Yes, but this is not logged in. Oh, I'm logged in as the same user twice. So annoying. Maybe I should use a different browser for this. And then it won't remember me. Remember who I'm logged in as. Log out. It was example as example that I need. Poo. Right. Alright, so Neasel 2, let's join the tower. And then if either one of these leave, then it works. And if we enter again and this one leaves, then we also left the user list. Cool. Well, yeah, if enough people enjoy this and this kind of thing, like live coding and stuff, I mean, if people like this, then I'm very happy to keep doing it. Perhaps not super often, like maybe once every 2 weeks or something. Like maybe once a month. I don't know. But if people enjoy it, then I'll definitely keep doing it. Because, you know, like I quite enjoy doing it as well. Like, I mean, it's exhausting, like, don't get me wrong, but it's fun to do. Right, so I think this is fine. We could do with splitting up this into multiple things, because if we look at what changed, we changed quite a lot of stuff. Right, so we need to actually commit these changes so that they can be merged into like upstream ringing room. Yes, okay, so we basically got 3 changes, right? We've got the fix that we intended to fix, which is the user emit. Oh, that reminds me, we need to check the other sources. Yeah, okay, once a month would be good. We could say, like, I don't know, do it the first Sunday of the month or something, maybe. I can make events on Facebook about it. And I mean, I don't think we have to, like, I'm not sure, would people, like, so this bug like this coding has been more coding ringing room rather than Wheatley. So this is kind of like, you know, this is perhaps misadvertised, but like, I don't know, would people... Oh, thanks. To be fair, I do really like coding. And I like... I like showing people how it works as well, because it's very, like, it's very easy to just be someone, like, as I said at the start, who just, like, sits in their back room, like, in their bedroom at their parents' house and just bashes out code, and people see the result. And it's kind of like a magic box, right? Like, there's just, like, this magic box. Yes, well, so I don't think I have the time and energy right now to go into the inner workings of Wheatley, but I could do that in the next one. In fact, there is, if you're interested in the inner workings of Wheatley, there is a document that I wrote recently for Wheatley. Oh wait, this is my third year project. Wheatley, where is it? Architecture.md. And this is basically, this is for like anyone who wants to contribute. This is basically just like a rundown of how the code is structured. Fairly like high order. Where is this? So this is, the link is here. Oh wait, you can't see that. Oh no, I don't want to do this. So this is in the Wheatley GitHub repository. I'm not sure if there's a link to this. Yeah, the link is here. I'm not sure of the best way. I could put this in chat. I could go and, haha, funny, watch my own thing and stick it in chat. Here we go. There we go. So that should watch my own thing and stick it in chat. That should take you to it. I mean, it's not like, it won't be the most interesting thing. It would probably be a lot better for to do some kind of like live stream like this, where I go into the coding. I mean, like there are plenty of things, changes that I could make to Wheatley that would make good live streams, right? Does that link work? Can someone just like say yay or nay, whether or not the link I posted takes you to the right place? So yeah, what were we doing over here? Oh yeah, we were trying to figure out what changes are committed where. Oh, okay, right. Yes, so yeah, yeah, so that feature request is oh, excellent, it does work, cool. Yeah, so I think more usefully than figuring out when you've stopped, perhaps, is stopping on setting at hand. I think that would be more useful, because that's basically like indicative that the touch has stopped. Like no one sets the bells at hand stroke in the middle of a touch, or at least if they do, the touch is going to end pretty quickly, so there's not much point, right? Anyway, let's just get this done, right? Let's make a pull request to Ringing Room and get this stuff fixed. So pretty much we fixed the random resets, and we moved everything into a helper function. That's one thing, and then we fixed the blank username bug. So that's these changes, right? Because all of these were fixing the tower ID. Like fixing the random reset and making sure it doesn't happen again. And then we also fixed the inconsistency with the socket requests, and looks like my JavaScript formatter reformatted some code as well. So I think that's it. And this bit is the inconsistency. So basically we need to, I think the first thing we should do is to fix the issue we were trying to fix, which is this weird, the erroneous resetting, right? so the socket emit. So basically it's only roots.py that is the issue for that. So we can git add patch app roots. And this will ask us yeah, I mean, that would be useful because composition entry, yeah, in response to Graham John, live streams of complib would be, yeah, useful, I think, because like the composition entry for complib is a bit weird. Like I learned how to use it to input compositions, but it is, it's fairly, yeah, it's quite idiosyncratic. So I think that, yeah, that would be quite useful. But yeah, I don't know, because I did live streaming like coding because I was doing it for a different project that I've been working on, and that was proving quite popular. And I thought, you know, like there are probably people. Oh yeah, see, yeah. So I was like, you know, there are probably people who would be interested in watching this and seeing how the internals of these kind of things work. Because I know I would, right? I would watch live streams, not necessarily of myself, because I don't like the sound of myself talking, but, you know, like I would watch other people talking about how the internals of stuff work. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so the thing about entering compositions into complib is it's kind of, like, it's one of those things that, like, maybe, 5% of the users actually use. Because most people go to complib to look at other people's compositions, or pick something to call or whatever. So it's not super critical, but also it would be very useful to have something like that. Because there are bits of it that I don't understand. And it's just a question of like hitting it until it works. So this is, yeah, let's go through the like figuring out which changes are which. So I think this is part of the fix we're trying to do, which is the erroneous resets. Yeah, this hunk is also erroneous resets. Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. So yeah. Right. So this emit socket function is also right, and this is too big. We need to split this into chunks because we don't want this change here is for a different commit. So we need to split this into more chunks. This is right. This is right. This is not right. This is the one we want to put in as a different change. Right. This is the fixing the username issue. Yeah, this is the making a helper function. This is also making a helper function and fixing the bug. This is making a helper function and updating the comment. That's okay. So now, yeah. So now Git's telling us that we've modified app roots, which is that we've like said, oh yeah, these are the changes that I've made as one block. What does Git say the rest of the changes, just in case we have any? Yeah, so this is the users left. This is all about the users left, and this is the bug that we're trying to fix, I think, and then some formatting. So now that we've done that, we need to git commit. What is it? Fix erroneous tower. This is how you spell erroneous, right? Just because someone yay or nay that my spelling is correct. I think it is, because it's like erroneous. Spelling is fine, excellent. Right, so now we've committed that, we need to decide what to commit next, and I think doing the username fix as it's in itself will be the first thing, and then we'll just fix the inconsistencies later. So that's in roots.py again, but it's not the only change, I think. So we need to do it. Oh, it is the only change. Okay, well, we add that. That's fine. So now we commit again, and this is fix blank username for Wheatley. Yeah, I can't see that. The bottom right corner of my screen is quite hard to see because my mug's in the way. Right, what have we got left? What other changes? Right, and it's now just formatting and the just like making the user ID thing consistent. So we need to add the README, just all of it, and app listeners, all of it. And now we need to add part of Ringing Room. So we need to add patch Ringing Room. Oh yeah, because it's the last thing. Yes, this is correct, and this isn't. Right, so now this is git commit. What should we call this? Let's call it something useful, like make user leave signals. What was it? It was CS user left signals consistent. Right, and then lastly, oops, the last thing we have is formatting. So reformat JS code, and just to add everything to that. Oh snap! I've been, oops, I've been committing all of this to the like main branch rather than a feature branch. Okay, right. We need to do some magic. Right, so we need to git checkout onto a new branch the current changes. So basically the issue is that I want to make all of these changes to a branch of history that's not like the main branch, because I need to get them merged into upstream main and then pulled down. So trunk is basically like where all of the changes should end up once they've been reviewed. But I've just been merrily adding these changes to trunk anyway. So what I need to do is to move the branch currently called trunk into a different branch of history, right, that can be separate, and then move trunk back to where it was before, which was origin trunk and upstream trunk. So those are, origin trunk is like, both of these are the like online versions of this code. So upstream is like Bryn and Leyland's copy of Ringing Room, and origin is my forked copy. It's kind of complicated. It might make sense in a bit when we do a pull request for this. So we need to check this out onto a new branch. Let's call it Wheatley fixes take 4. I've had 4 different pull requests to fix Wheatley. And now if we look at the graph of the commits again, this is take 4 and trunk are both here. And I think if we can force, is it br-f? What does TLDR have to say about git branch? Rename a branch. You must not have it checked out. Create a new branch. Okay, time for Google. Git force branch to commit. Oh yes, I've been here before. Oh, it is git branch -f. So git branch -f, and we want to force trunk back to upstream trunk. Excellent. So now if you go git tip. Yeah, there we go. So trunk is back to here. So we basically undone the changes to the main branch, and then all of our changes are now on Wheatley fixes, right? I'm not sure how clear this is to anyone who's not used Git, but this is basically how multiple people can work on the same code at the same time. It's because you can make, multiple people could make branches off the code, and then they could be merged in at different times. And the job of Git is to figure out, when you merge 2 unrelated pieces of code, what the result should be. Because that's not, in most cases, that's not trivial if 2 people edit the same file. So now we need to push this, push new, so that now my copy of Ringing Room on the internet has the new branch. So if I go to GitHub here, I have my own fork of Ringing Room somewhere. These all, that might be called virtual Ringing Room. Okay, maybe I should just do it. Actually, no, it's fine. I can go to Leyland's version, and then it says, oh yeah, make a pull request. Wheatley fixes. So what have we done? Well, we fixed the following issues. Wheatley randomly resetting tower size, resetting to plain Bob major. What else have we got? We fixed Wheatley appearing as a random user, as an empty name. And there was minor fixes, was fixed consistency. Yeah, so it only send user ID to when user leaves, since user name is never used. And anyway, the spelling was wrong, but we don't need to do that because it doesn't matter because it's gone. Oh, we should probably rename this commit actually, but we can do that after we've made the pull request. Right, we can, what is this, git rebase, oops. We want to rebase interactive to head twiddle7, that's okay. And we want to rename this commit here. So basically like, so yeah, Leyland did create ringing room using Python, and that's not really why we used Python for Wheatley. The main reason was that the code that we were using to interact with ringing room, I guess it kind of is. It's a lot easier to be up to date with something if you're in the same language. But also the Python library that handles socket connections is really easy to use. As with most things in the Python ecosystem, right? It's an easy to use to get started language. But then once more things start happening, it's like, hey, this is starting to get like really hard to deal with because you kind of pay for the ease of use later. But it's fine. Wheatley is like pretty stable after the amount of effort that we put into making it stable. Right, so we want to rename this commit. Fix erroneous Wheatley. What do we call it in here? Stop Wheatley resetting to plain Bob major. Right. Okay, so now we'll notice that if we git tip, have I managed to mess things up? Oh, blimey. Okay, something's weird. Something's messed up. Okay, we need to git checkout head. Oh, how do we undo a rebase? Oh, hello. Are you another person coming from Sapling? If so, this will be a bit confusing. I'm not live streaming Sapling today. Git reflog. Ah, head at 1. That's it. I knew I was close. Head at 1 should undo us. So now we should be, oh no, this is even better. We can just check out check out trunk, and then we git branch force. What was it? Wheatley fixes take 4 to origin. Wheatley fixes take 4, because I've kind of backed up my old branch. Oh, you're new. Okay, so I'm doing some fixes to a kind of online change ringing platform. I'm not sure the best way to describe it. If you haven't done any change ringing, then a lot of this will be like, what? kind of. So what have we done? Okay, so if we look at the commits again, okay, we're back. We're back to square one. So we need to git rebase, git rebase -i, and instead of this we're going to rebase to trunk, not one. Oh, because we're on trunk, we need to check out Wheatley fixes. Take 4, and our tip, we should be on, yeah, so we're looking at Wheatley fixes take 4, and we want to interactively rebase -i trunk, and then we want to rename this commit. What do we want to call it? Oh yeah, I'm going to stop Wheatley randomly. Plain old mate. Cool, and now we'll see that we've kind of diverged because we renamed the commit that happened right at the start when we branched. Oh, did you just like, did you just find my YouTube channel just randomly? That's cool. Yeah, so now we've diverged from the old branch, so we need to git push force with release. Force with release, forcing basically means just update the branch rather than trying to add my changes on top of it. Oh, nice. Nice to see that YouTube's pushing my channel, even though it's mainly coding and old music. So if we do this, then git, and we do git tip, we'll see that origin is now up to date with our local copy. So we've got the renamed commit, and also if we refresh this, then now we've got the commit renamed. So yeah, pretty much. I think that's done for the coding today, because that is, like, we've made the pull request, we fixed the bug, like, that's a success, right? Now we just need to wait for Brennan Leyland to respond to this and merge it. And once that happens, that will probably be next Thursday, will probably be when these changes land, and they'll be fixed. But, like, one of the useful side effects of the bug being related to people turning Wheatley on is that over time fewer and fewer people will turn Wheatley on because they've already turned it on, and so the bug will hopefully just disappear anyway. But you know, now it's fixed, and we've fixed another thing as well. In fact, oh yeah, we should do what Mark Davies suggested, and if we go back to Wheatley, let's make this a bit bigger. We should probably look for, oh yeah, we want ringing ring. Oops. Ringing ring. And we should probably just check the other times when that signal was emitted. What was it? It was RG. It wasn't username, it was S Wheatley Rogen in Python. And I'm pretty sure all of these are fine. Because, Rogen towered or Wheatley.Rogen. I actually think there's another bug here. Let's just get our screen layout back and run this again. So it has new tower size. Oh, so I think there might be another bug that we've missed. Good on Mark Davies for spotting that. Oh yeah, we need to be in ringing room. Okay. So where is it? It's app listeners. It's line 92. Shouldn't this... Oh, hang on, what? So if Wheatley Tower enabled, then we emit the road settings. Ah, no, okay, so this is fine. This is fine. We don't need to set the tower ID because emit here only, like, this is within a socket callback, and it remembers which room it was sent to, right? And therefore we don't need to do an emit. And I think we can just check that, because if we search for emit and find the next one, like if we go to the next function call, where is it? Come on, let's jump here. Oh no, I think we should. Okay, so I think we do need this. Okay, I think this might also be another bug. Oh yeah, there are a lot of things. I know where the bug came from now. The bug is just because I copied and pasted this code. Right. So that should work. Have we got another emit set user list? I think is this the only time it's emitted? On join. No, this is okay because it only no, these are fine because they're not broadcast, so they're just returned to the person who asked for the requests. That's why it works fine. Because if we're not broadcasting and only sending to one person, we don't have to specify the room because we assume that that connection can only be in one room, which is a logical assumption. So yeah, I think that's fine. And then I think both the other occurrences, 259 here, broadcast. Yeah, so this is when the signals, when the things get changed. This should be on a different line. Oh no, I think it is fine. Just ignore my reformatting. Yeah, that's okay. Am I in LA? No, I'm not. I'm in England. Interesting question. Why? Like, do I sound like I'm from LA? That's really weird. I've never... Actually, I have been to LA, but I was like 4, so... Anyway, so I think that's fine. Nothing should have changed since the last time we did anything. So yeah, that bug is not a problem. So I think it's fixed. So I mean, yeah, most people have just slowly disappeared. But I guess like I have been streaming for nearly 2 hours. Okay, well you can tell your friend that I'm not. Anyway, yeah, so I think that's pretty much it, because we fixed the stuff that we intended to fix, and more, right? So I think if people... yeah. You're welcome. Well, I'm glad people enjoyed it. I was a bit... I was wondering how many people I'd get, you know. But yeah, it's nice. And it's also nice how many people were, like, talking in chat as well. I was wondering how many people would... you know, have Google like have an account with which to chat, with which to put messages in the chat. But yeah, I can definitely do more of this. There are many feature requests for Wheatley that I could live stream and then like dig into the code as I'm going, if people would be interested in that. So I could I guess this time works reasonably well. Like it works quite well for me, because I'm consistently around, and it's not like doing it weekday afternoons where it'll look just like no one will be around because weekday afternoons. So yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll put another another event on Facebook and advertise it like I did for this one. So yeah, thanks. I mean, yeah. So Graham, if you I'd be interested in watching a live stream about Complip as well. Big warning though to anyone doing it for the first time. It's very tiring, is what I'll say. And like talking to a camera is surprisingly scary. That's the other thing. Just for anyone starting out, I'm not sure whether you've done it before or made videos before, but it's a bit of a change to like public speaking as well. But anyway, yeah, I think that's been a successful stream on like on multiple levels, right? You can go back to OBS. In fact, I showed this last stream, but there's a cool thing you can do with OBS, that you can make a wave. Anyway, so I think that's it for today. So I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed streaming, certainly. So thank you all for coming, even the people who've left and don't see this. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a month-ish. So bye!